Good evening. Welcome to the Comic Book Shop of Doom. I'm your host. This video is not for children, so if you're under 13, get your parents' permission to watch this video. I don't need a $40,000 fine from COPA, YouTube, or the government. Okay, the topic of this. Basically, are the movie theaters extinct? Okay, I was talking to a guy at my work today, and they got all the social distancing rules in effect, and they're only allow so many people into the place of work that I work at, my real job, where I pay my bills. And I was talking to a guy, and we seen eye to eye. We come into agreement, and he was like, "What's going on?" And I told him about the social distancing and the 6 feet apart. And I go, "People don't want to wear masks." And if you look at this outbreak of stuff in Florida and Texas and California, and they keep having the movie theaters, they keep pushing back the dates of when they're going to open. And all these big movies are just sitting there gathering dust, and they're just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And they're talking about all these different changes that are going to come to the show. And I told this guy that, in my opinion, that if this drags on with the pandemic, that what happens if we have to redesign our stores, where everything has to be spaced out, because these stores can't accommodate a lot of people. So we have to have bigger stores with more room for people to get around, and you got to have different circulation, air vents and stuff like that to pull out the dirty air with filter it and everything. And I says, it's going to be worse for movie theaters. And I go, you could see definitely things change. And he said, yeah, he agreed that movie theaters he thinks are dead. And the whole thing is, these theaters, they bring in a lot of money on their opening weekend and stuff. So would that impact the box office on these big budget movies? Will we see a Star Wars movie again? Will we see these Marvel movies? Or any of these big franchises that cost $200 million to make? If it can't make serious money, it's only going to be a video on demand thing. So I told a guy at work, I says, you may see $100 million movies go away, but they'll still make a movie for $5 million. You can make money off of that. But it's possible that if this stuff continues and drags on, or if it's permanent, the movies will definitely change. Where it's going to be a lot different than what we remember it as. And I go, I don't like this at all, but what are you going to do? And they're finding out different things every day, and some of the stuff, I just think that they don't know they don't know anything yet. They don't really have answers. They're just guessing. And the stuff changes a little bit here and there. But what do you do if you can't go to movie theaters or sporting events anymore? Any of these big arenas. So they get demolished. Like, do they take the mall and they have to make these stores bigger so people can walk around in them, and just things like that, I don't know. It's just it's a wait and see thing. Everybody thinks, oh, here, we're going to rush this out and make money. But the problem is, we've never really seen this in our society. They had the Spanish flu back in 1920, so that's 100 years ago. And now I just read online that there's been a case of bubonic plague in China that they found. So that was usually caused by rats. The stuff spreads on them. So, is that bound to come here? What do people do? Can you go anywhere? And is everything going to be streaming sites? Would the video store come back? Where you could go in there, they could have like 10 people in there at a time, depending on how big they are. And they'd have all these different movies. And so basically all your entertainment would be consumed at home. So you'd have to have, I'm sure they'd make bigger TVs and everything. So you have big screen TVs in your house. Or they make the ones now, they'd be cheaper. So everybody would have a big screen TV. So you almost have a theater in your house. So that would be the safe way of doing it. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, we brought that up, and I says a lot of people are in denial, and it's not that I'm pushing this, but it's like, what happens if it's true? And he's like, yeah, it's really, really messed up. Is the movie going experience extinct? So we will find out, and that's all we can do. And I go, what happens if this is like a cycle too? Like every couple months, this stuff comes back, or it's like like the flu virus is always there. It just mutates. And what if this COVID-19 virus does the same thing? And it's just so deadly. You see some of these people dying, they're like in their 40s. You got kids dying, it's messed up. So, what are you going to do? You going to shut down everything? You live your life hiding under a rock? I mean, it's hard to say, and nobody wants to give you the wrong answer. But would they actually do away with the movies? I think that's a real big possibility. Because they already said they can't operate with that, the limited seating and everything. It ain't worth their time. So we're going to have to wait and see how this works out. Everybody have a good night.